malaika na ndire wendo hana taruduku kana ngengere gambaga ya gutho hana taruduku kana ngengere gambaga ya gutho wendo ni ngai ngai ni wendo utari wendo no wira watu wendo ni ngai ngai ni wendo utari wendo no wira watu ingĩkorwo no hoti wa kũrathaga menya maũndũ mothe marĩ hitho-inĩ na ndirĩ wendo no wĩra watu ingĩgĩa na wĩtĩkio ũngĩthamia irĩma na ndirĩ wendo no wĩra watu itarĩ wendani ndirĩ bata ona hanini itarĩ wendani ndirĩ bata ona hanini wendo nĩ ngai ngai nĩ wendo ũtarĩ wendo no wĩra watu wendo nĩ ngai ngai nĩ wendo ũtarĩ wendo no wĩra watu ningiona ingĩheana indo ciakwa na mwĩrĩ wakwa ũcinwo na ndirĩ wendani ndirĩ ũndũ ingĩguna naguo wendani nĩ ũkiragĩrĩria nĩ ũtuganaga wendani ndũrĩ wĩru mwĩgatho ona kana mwĩtĩo wendani ndũrĩ wĩru mwĩgatho ona kana mwĩtĩo wendo nĩ ngai ngai nĩ wendo ũtarĩ wendo no wĩra watu wendo nĩ ngai ngai nĩ wendo ũtarĩ wendo no wĩra watu wehunjia mũno no tarĩ wendo no wĩra watu wehoya mũno no tarĩ wendo no wĩra watu wendani ndũgathira morathi magathira thiomi ndĩgathira ona ũgĩ ũthire no wendani ndũgathira wendani ndũgathira morathi magathira thiomi ndĩgathira ona ũgĩ ũthire no wendani ndũgathira wendo nĩ ngai ngai nĩ wendo ũtarĩ wendo no wĩra watu wendo nĩ ngai ngai nĩ wendo ũtarĩ wendo no wĩra watu
Good morning. What another exciting new day. And here we are. We are thankful. It's another joyful day, a wonderful day when you and I can join in together and have a good time and talk about good things. Karibu sana Grace Njuguna, you're very welcome. And karibu sana Viola Mahiu, karibu sana. Thank you so much for joining me. And for those that I'm not able to see on the other side as well, karibuni sana. Thank you so much. I'll be giving you a shout out as I continue in the program. It's another wonderful day, and I love that song that has just started the program with, that Wedo Negai, God is love. And when we do all these things and we do not have love, then it's not worth it. But God is love. So thank you so much for joining me this particular morning. And I'm looking at this particular topic, how to maximize potential for good. You know, I woke up with so many things in my mind, and I was thinking, how do I approach today? How do I come to Kenya Diaspora Media and be able to talk to people today with something that can build their lives, something that can be encouraging, something that can be also improve our lives for good. And one of the things I do is I talk about spices of life, and I talk about maximizing our potential. And today I wanted to add specifically to maximize it for good. Why? Because I was thinking every human being, and I did post this one on my Facebook profile, every human being has the capacity, or rather has the potential, and that potential could be potential for good or for evil. Now it's up to you. It's up to you to choose what potential you're going to maximize today. And today I have chosen to maximize the potential for good on my side, and it's because of the well-being. You know, when we do things and those things we know for sure they are not good, because we do know, our conscience tells us it's not good, and then we go ahead and do those things. Who are we really kind of deceiving? We are deceiving ourselves. We are deceiving ourselves. We are not deceiving any other person except ourselves. Whose conscience are we tarnishing? Yes, whose conscience are we tarnishing? Who is building on evil within themselves? It's the person that is deceiving themselves. So I wanted to talk about building potential, maximizing it for good. And one of the ways I'm going to start now is by asking a number of questions, and these questions I have also asked on Facebook. I wanted to know, who is your mentor? You don't have to tell me, but I would like really you ask yourself number one question for today. Who is your mentor? And how do you know that this person is your mentor? Most of us assume that we do have mentors and that we know who our mentors are. Okay, when we are watching a number of programs, when you're watching Esther, or you're watching that favorite preacher of yours, or that motivational speaker of yours, you trust that that is your mentor. So how do you know that that is your mentor? And where does the mentor come in maximizing your potential? Your mentor will help you and guide you in the parts that sometimes you're oblivious to, some parts that you may not be seeing yourself, but this mentor will help you. So today we are talking about how to maximize your potential for good. My name is Esther from Leicester, and I'm so glad you joined me this particular day. Now, the other thing I found is that most people would like to hear what they would like to hear. Most people are always prepared, and they have their own expectations of what they want to hear. And that has been problematic, because sometimes what you want to hear is not always the best for you. Okay, I've been going through a series of interviews in the recent past, and I can tell you, they wanted me to tell them what they wanted to hear. But on the other hand, on my side, I knew who I am and my value, and therefore I wanted to give them my value and maximize my potential as I maximize theirs. But of course, not many people would really accept that as face value, because there are many formulas of asking for these questions and interviewing, and therefore they will go as per their set ideas and their tick lists, the tick boxes they have. So even if I try now to tell you, you can maximize your potential for better, if you've decided that this is not my topic, it's not tickling my ears, then it's so easy for you just to say, I'm gone. I don't want this. I really don't want to hear this, because we set our minds with expectations of what we really want to hear. Like I said, it's not always the best thing that comes to help us. It could be just something that is fleeting, just something to make us laugh, or something that is just exciting us for that particular moment, but it's not transforming us for good. Now, one thing I've found, apart from finding mentors who can help us through the paths of life. By the way, a mentor is that person who can tell you something and you respond. You act upon what it is that they are telling you. Yes, for me, I have a mentor in Jesus, but I also have a human mentor. But when I was trying to look around, who is that person that I normally listen to and respond? Okay, sometimes I will try to resist, but most of the time I will respond, and it will be for good. And one of the people I found is my husband. Yes, he tells me things, and whenever I have a question or an opinion, or I want to do something, I would ask him, what do you think about this? And of course, sometimes I go with my own expectations and my own answers, but I am always prepared to listen, because he doesn't wish bad for me. He doesn't wish that I didn't succeed in life. He always wishes, or rather prays, that I succeed in life. So I can have that person as someone that I can trust and ask, what do I do in this case? I don't know whether you have a mentor. I don't know. But it's up to you to decide this day, do you have a mentor? But I was saying this, apart from having a mentor, for us to be able to maximize our potential, we need to start understanding ourselves and having a self-awareness of who we are. And once we get to know who we are, we can also be able now to start knowing what is it that we want. What is it that we want out of this life? By the way, life is a very lonely journey. If you really are serious, you don't have to carry a lot of baggages. You don't have to carry a lot of people along hanging around you, because at the point of decision making, those life changing decisions, you are alone. When it comes to going to work, you are alone. When it comes to performing your life, you are alone. Yes, people may cheer you along. People may come alongside of you, and they may be able to try and help. But at the end of the day, life is very personal. So it's important that you start being self-aware of who you are and what is it that you can be able to get out of life and also to put into this life, because life is there to be lived, not life to just fleet and pass like that. So if you don't make the most out of your life, out of today, if you don't look for the things that will maximize the potential for good, then you're going to be ending up in either the stressful corner or the suffering corner, always seeking for answers elsewhere. Yet the answers can start from right within your heart, right within your mind, right within your conscience. So you know what is good, and you know what you would really like to experience in this life. You know what you would really like to add in this life. I hope so. That's what my hopes are, that you know what exactly that you want to do in this life. And as you do those things that you need to do, not necessarily things that you plan to do and you don't do them. Not those things that you procrastinate. Those things that you know that once you do them and say them, then they can be able to add value in your life, and they can be able to add value to another person's life. Then let's go and maximize our potential for good. Let's go and do that. So I said we do need mentors. We do need people to push us, to encourage us, to advise us, to train us, to help us in the journey of life. But above all, you need to start with you. Now, the way I normally look at this, I normally start looking at me, and I look at the spices of life and think, yes, I have the spiritual sense of me, and I have the physical sense of me. And out of these two, which one do I want to thrive? I want both of them to thrive. I want this physical body to thrive, because this is the vessel that carries my spirit. This is the vessel that is me when I'm walking on this face of the earth. But I know, for me to be able to speak, for me to be alive, to be able to be dynamic, I have the spirit that God gave me. There is a life. There is that person that I talk to in my head all the time. There is that person that feels the pain from inside when things are not going right. There is that person that I know that is a gift from God. It's the life that God gave me. It's the spirit that is within me. So whenever I want to maximize my potential, I want that person, the spirit person, to be maximized as well, in as much as the physical person is being maximized. I think it's somewhere in the Bible where Paul says that go and prosper in the whole being, in the spirit and in the body. Go and prosper. I know we've been taught a lot of prosperity preaching, but we've been taught about in terms of finances. But today I want to talk about prosperity in a different way, in maximizing your potential. The potential that I'm talking about is setting your spirit free. Number one, set your spirit free. Once the spirit is set free, and we can only be helped by mentors, or we can be sometimes helped by those outside forces. And one of the outside forces I know, it's God. The omnipotent God is able to help us to maximize our potential. He's the one who puts the potential in us, and therefore we need to dig it out. We need to be able to cultivate it out. I've been talking about well-being, a lot of well-being. Why? Because I understand, like I said, life can be very lonely. Life is very personal. Life's decisions, it's you to make, in as much as other people are helping you. So let's cultivate the spiritual person through the mentorship of Jesus, our example, and then we can be able to carry through also in our physical life with other mentors, like my husband, like your friends, like whoever it is that mentors you. So today I want us to maximize our potential for good, but that maximizing the potential for good must be hard work. It's not an easy thing to do. We need to encourage ourselves. And if you look at the series that I've been bringing here, I have been saying about commitment. I have been saying about encouraging ourselves. I've been saying about, like today, you have to be self-aware. Sometimes we are not self-aware. And I have talked to a lot of friends, and sometimes I find the way we live this life, it's like we are not self-aware. But there is a point where you must start being self-aware. And when I talk about self-awareness, you're looking at how you respond to your environment, how you respond to people, how you respond to the call in your life. All those things add up. And once they've added up, then you can be able to maximize your potential. You need to have a starting point. So thank you so much, Caroline Munyao. You're saying you're watching from the UK. Karibu sana, asanteni sana for joining me. So what am I trying to say? We all have a potential. We do all have a potential. Thank you so much, Paul Mbugwa, for joining in. And thank you so much, David Miner, also for joining in. And Anna Jones, thank you so much for joining in. Karibuni sana from Australia, from US, from UK, wherever you're tuning in from, karibuni sana. Now, I'm talking about this topic of maximizing our potential. And I do say we all have a potential. And we have a potential for either good or bad. And when I say bad is good or evil, there is a tree that was planted in the Garden of Eden, and that was that human beings have a capacity to be good or to be evil. But in all, there is a capacity for a tree of life. There were two trees. One of them is that with the capacity of doing good or doing evil, and the other one is the capacity to have life and have life in abundance. But we pursue out of these all other trees that were created there, all the other things that God created for us to enjoy, they're there. They're there. We can have all the fun in enjoying them. But we must remember that out of all the things that God created, it's these two trees that are mentioned. Normally, I call them the capacity to do good or evil, and the capacity to be alive and live forevermore. That's what I call them. And that's where we are aiming. You know, if you read deeper into the Bible, you will see that we are all wanting to live an everlasting life. Sometimes we get confused in this life. We think it's the physical life that must live eternally. But I know, like the Queen is gone now. Recently, we buried the Queen. She's gone. Yeah, but she lived a life of abundance in the physical sense. She was surrounded by things. She was surrounded by activity. She was surrounded by everything. Maybe we say we maybe wish for her, but I don't think I would have wished for her life. I don't think so. Now, today, as I was like trying to think around, I came across also a post that had said, for example, you know, when it comes to learning, when it comes to education, there are courses that are better than other courses. Yes, it may sound that it is quite correct, but I would say this: every day is a learning day. It's a learning curve. And you can learn formally, you can go into a school, you can go to a college, you can go to wherever, and you can pay huge amounts of money to learn. Like this knowledge I'm giving you, I'm giving it for free, but I can package it and sell it, but I don't want to do that because I know it can help you, it can help me. And in the process of helping you and me, yeah, we can gain. And sometimes some of the things that we teach that are valuable are not necessarily money kind of worth. I mean, no amount of money would buy wisdom. No amount of money can buy the wisdom that needs to drive this life. So what am I trying to say? I am trying to say that in your parts of life, this particular moment that you are watching this screen, you've been captured by the attention to Esther, and she's talking about you and your potential, and you can be able to maximize it. So if you do not know what you are able to do, if you do not know your capacity, I would urge you, I would encourage you today, try to find that thing that you're passionate about. Try to find it. Then that's also another post that I put on Facebook. So what is it that you are passionate about and you feel like you can do that thing and you can even give it for free? What is it that you're passionate about? That's one of the points. It's not the only potential that you have. You know, in the Bible, they talk about 1 talent, they talk about 2 talents, they talk about 5. So you can be given more than one thing that you can maximize your potential in. So you can have more than one passion. But if there was one particular passion that you're passionate about, yes, you see, passionate about, then that's one of the points where you can start to maximize your potential. So I'm challenging you again. If you're feeling lost, if you don't know what exactly Esther is talking about, or you do not know exactly this potential thing that Esther is talking about is all about, find your passion. And once you find what you're passionate about, let it be for good, and then go and practice it. Yes, I was being reminded when I was going through these interview processes, and somebody was saying, Esther, what is it that you're passionate about? Go and study it. Go and write about it. Go and talk about it. Now, I'm going to be point blank with you this particular morning. I am passionate about the spices of life in terms of the well-being of our being, right? And when I talk about that, for those who have joined me in the past, I talk about the spices, not necessarily as in cooking, although that is an analogy. It's a parallel of it. I talk about the spices of life because S stands for the spiritual person. And like I've already mentioned, I believe in the liberation, excuse me, of the spirit person. I also believe that in the physical sense, pain and suffering should be relieved. It doesn't have to be eliminated completely because it doesn't work like that. We will be tired, we will be sick, we will be going through some pain, because if we didn't have pain, we wouldn't be able to compare the lack of pain with the kind of when we don't have pain. So it's important that we have pain. If we didn't have pain, then sometimes we wouldn't know the dangers. So if you didn't know a fire can burn, then you wouldn't know how to keep away from the fire. So pain and suffering are part and parcel of life because man fell, or mankind fell. But out of that, God has given us hope. We have continued to have hope. So I am saying this. In the process of finding your passion, yes, it doesn't always flow smooth. There are times that you will find that like you're going through pain, you're going through suffering, you're going through stress. All that is part of the package of life, but we can be able to live with that as we maximize our potential for good. One of the things I would encourage you, if there is something that you know that is going not to be good or bringing evil, that's something that will be destructive, don't do it. Please don't do it. Maximize your potential for good. What is that passion? And is that passion for good? If it's a passion for good, go ahead, study it. Read it, talk about it, write about it, and go ahead and practice it. It could be one of the talents, don't bury it. It could be 2 of the talents, go and maximize, duplicate them, make them to be double. It could be the 5, go and make them happen. And that's how you and I will be that good and faithful servant. We will be that good and faithful servant. So don't worry about where you are at the moment. If you have thought that you have chosen a wrong career, or you have chosen a wrong course in life, or you're going through troubled life at the moment, or you're going through an exciting time in life, all of them are learning curves. And in the process of doing life, we come across things that we are passionate about, and those are our potentials, and we need to be able to maximize them for good. So I hope I'm making sense as I continue talking. And Jackie Sal is watching. Karibu Sana. Thank you so much for joining us. And for everyone else that is joining me, Karibu Sana. You're welcome to be able to discuss this topic of mine that I'm passionate about. Yes, I am passionate about the spices of life. Like I was saying, I am passionate about the liberation of my spirit. I am passionate about having well-being in my physical being. I am also passionate about education, the intellect. That I stands for the intellect. I'm passionate about knowledge. And once I take that knowledge, what do I do with that knowledge? I apply that knowledge, and that's where wisdom comes in. So you have wisdom, you have understanding, you apply it, then it's complete. If you have knowledge and you're not going to apply it, like today, I'm talking about maximizing our potential. If you know your potential, if you know your passion, and you're not doing anything to maximize that, then you haven't heard what Esther was saying. Yes, you haven't heard what Esther was saying in real sense, because you've not applied that knowledge. So let's take the knowledge and apply it. And the other thing I normally talk about is the currency of this life. Sometimes I say commercial. Commercial in the business sense, money is good. It's good for running business in this life. But also the currency of love in your heart will help you to go an extra mile. And that's why we played that song at the beginning. God is love, love is God. Without love, all the other things we do, it will be a struggle. And I do say we must love ourselves. If we do not love ourselves, then we are not able to give this love. You cannot be able to give what you do not have. You cannot be able to maximize your potential if you do not love. So love, start with yourself. Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Of course, the spiritual is liberated in that sense. And then cultivate this love within you, and then give this love to others. That way you can be able to maximize your potential. If you do not love, if you do not appreciate what you're doing, if you do not like the potential in you, if you do not like the passion, I don't know whether there's someone who doesn't like what they're passionate about. I don't know. So if you do not love what you're doing, if you do not love the person that you are, if you do not love, yes, then it's so difficult to be able to share this love with another person. It's so difficult to love those around. Imagine we've been also told to love our enemies. So if you can't even love the people who are lovable, then how much more difficult would it be to love those who are difficult to you? How much more? So spices of life. One other area I know we struggle with, and I have struggled with for the last, let's say, for example, the last 2 months when I've been looking for work and I've been going through this personal life, emotions. Yeah, our emotions go up and down, up and down. But one of the things I was reminded this week is that we can have joy despite the trials, despite the challenges. We can have joy, because joy is different from happiness, and joy is a decision. It's a decision you make. But the best gift of joy comes in knowing whose we are. Because it's the joy of the Lord, it's the joy of understanding that I have a super God. I have a God that is higher than I have someone I can rely on. So the joy of the Lord gives me the strength to move on. The joy of the Lord gives me hope. I don't know where you get your joy from, but my decisions are made on the basis of the freedom that I have as a spirit person. In the physical, I struggle. In the emotions, I struggle. Okay, in the intellect and finding knowledge and wisdom and all that, I struggle. I don't know whether that's the same case with you. But once I know that I can still rejoice in my journey, and that's why I was saying no course is wasted. For example, any study that you do, whether in the academics or wherever you do the learning, whether it's at home, whether it's the mistakes that we've done in this life, I rejoice even in the exams that I've kind of failed, you would say failing, but it's the failing forward. What have I learned from this thing that I'm calling failure? I fail forward. I learned something out of it. So it's ever learning and learning and learning, and not repeating the same mistakes, because sometimes it's mistakes that we make. Sometimes it's other people's decisions in saying that you have not passed this exam, but in actual sense, it's a path that we have taken in life. So in the emotions as well, when they come up and down, they can really throw us off the balance. They can take away the capacity to think clearly, the capacity to know that we can be able to maximize our potential. That can be taken away when the emotions are either excitingly high or very low. Any of those can take away the path of life that we are taking. It can take us away from maximizing our potential. It can take away the passion that we have, because we've been derailed because of our emotions. I'm moving on. So the other aspect that I've found in this life, like I said, when you go through the journey of life, whether it's the good or the bad, most of the time you will find you're walking this journey almost alone. But you're never alone when it comes to the Spirit of God being with you. If you believe in the Spirit of God being with you, then you are with God. God is with you. However, when it comes to mankind, human beings, it is sometimes difficult to have social relationships that are standing. And the last S in the spices of life stands for social relations, social connections. It can be very difficult. But like I said at the beginning of my talk, when I said, who is your mentor? We start by forming relationships with other people. We start forming relationships with God by faith. We start forming relationships with ourselves, because it's important to be able to win in that area. Because if you don't, then life can be very depressing and very lonely. So what am I saying at the end of the day? Spices of life is my passion, and I will keep on talking about it despite the challenges and the difficulties that I may face, because I want you to be liberated in the spirit. I want you to be liberated in the physical sense. I want you to be liberated in the intellectual sense. I want you to be liberated in the emotional sense, and I want you to be liberated in the social aspect of it. Now, I won't go on and on and on. For now, I'm going to stop there, because half an hour is sufficient for us to be able to digest what is it that Esther is talking about this morning. But one of the things I would like you to know is that I do this because I care about myself and I care about you. And at the end of it all, you will come back and say, thank you, Esther, for prompting me, for waking me up to this reality that we can maximize our potential by finding what it is that we are passionate about and making sure that it's working. Whether it's one passion, 2 or 5, maximize them, and then you will be good and faithful servant at the end. You will know, because even yourself, when you go through life, you will know when you have maximized your potential and when it has worked for good for you. Otherwise, I'm going to stop there for now. May God bless you, and we'll meet another day. You will tell me whether you have maximized your potential or not. And thank you so much, Grace Njuguna, for joining me, Viola Mahi for joining me, Caroline Munyao. Thank you so much for joining me, Jackie Sal. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. And on the other side, thank you so much for joining me. And another day, another time, we will be able to come back and say whether we maximized our potential or not. So I'm going to leave you with this song again, Wedo Ne Gai Gai Ne Wedo, because I truly believe love conquers most of the things, not even most, all the things that that could be challenging. Remember to love yourself. Remember to extend this love to others, because without that, then all we are doing could be not useful. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me. Karibu sana. Wedo ne gai, gai ne wedo. From our CEO, and thank you for this platform. Thank you so much.
Kana dire wendo hana taruduku kana gegere gabaga ya gudu hana taruduku kana gegere magaya guthwo wendo ni Ngai Ngai ni wendo utari wendo no wira watu wendo ni Ngai Ngai ni wendo utari wendo no wira watu ingĩkorwo no ũhoti wa kũratha ngamenya maũndũ mothe marĩ hitho-inĩ na ndirĩ wendo no wĩra wa tũhũ ingĩgĩa na wĩtĩkio ũngĩthamia irĩma na ndirĩ wendo no wĩra wa tũhũ itarĩ wendani ndirĩ bata ona hanini itarĩ wendani ndirĩ bata ona hanini wendo nĩ Ngai Ngai nĩ wendo ũtarĩ wendo no wĩra wa tũhũ wendo nĩ Ngai Ngai nĩ wendo ũtarĩ wendo no wĩra wa tũhũ Nikiona ingĩheana indo ciakwa na mwĩrĩ wakwa ũcinwo na ndirĩ wendani ndirĩ ũndũ ingĩguna naguo wendani nĩ ũkiragĩrĩria nĩ ũtuganaga wendani ndũrĩ wĩru mwĩgatho ona kana mwĩtĩo wendani ndũrĩ wĩru mwĩgatho ona kana mwĩtĩo wendani ndũgathira morathi magathira thiomi nĩgathira ona ũgĩ ũthira